Hello and welcome to another edition of Music History with Cats. We're your hosts, Ziggy and Theo. And today we are going to be studying Johann Sebastian Bach. Johann Sebastian Bach was born March 21st, 1685 in Eisenach, Germany. Bach was a Baroque-era composer. The Baroque era lasted from about 1600 to 1750. Even though 1685 was like 335 years ago, it was a really important year. In fact, in 1685, George Friedrich Handel and Domenico Scarlatti, who were two very famous Baroque composers, were also born. In 1700, at the age of 15, Bach was given a scholarship to study voice. See, studying music does lead to college scholarships. So when Bach was 18, he started working as a church organist. Wow, that feels nice. You can keep doing that, Mommy. And he eventually worked himself into being a court musician. Wow, that's super cool. Bach married his first wife, Maria Barbara, in 1707. And they had 7 children. And while he was the court organist for Duke Ernest Wilhelm of Weimar, he composed his famous Toccata and Fugue in D minor for organ. Do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do. So I know that composers like Bach kind of get this bad reputation as like being, old dead white guys who wear wigs and have no relevance or bearing in your life. But Bach was actually something of a diva. I know, just like me when I don't get fed. So, let me tell you some stories about Bach being a bad boy. When Bach was working as a church organist, he had to direct the choir in the church. And apparently the choir was not very good. And Bach, he had a whole lot of high standards. So Bach was doing choir rehearsal, and the choir was sounding really terrible. And he stopped rehearsal, and he called them all weenies. And then later that night, one of the guys in the choir took a stick, and he followed Bach out in the street, and he beat him with the stick. Man, that's some harsh criticism right there. And then later on, Bach was tired of being a court composer, and so he decided he wanted another job. So he went and he applied for one, but his boss was like, "No, you don't get to leave. I do not approve." And he threw Bach in jail for threatening to quit his job. Here's me being Bach reporting from prison. Oh, I hate this. I just want to go and write music again. Well, Bach did eventually get out of prison, and when he did, he got to work for Prince Leopold of Cothen, and that was a really good working relationship for him. Bach composed a lot of new concertos when he worked for the prince, and the prince was a musician, so some of the pieces that Bach wrote were actually for the viol da gamba, which the Prince Leopold played. Bach was working for the Prince Leopold from 1717 all the way to 1723. And that was a really good period for him to write lots of new music. And a lot of it you've probably heard of. He wrote his Brandenburg concertos then. He also wrote the Well-Tempered Clavier books for piano. And he wrote his violins, unaccompanied sonatas and partitas, as well as all of the Bach cello suites. Unfortunately for Bach, in 1720, his wife Maria Barbara passed away. And Bach was really sad, and he had 7 children who needed a new mom. So in 1721, he married his second wife, Anna Magdalena, who was a singer and came from a musical family also. Johann and Anna Magdalena had 13 children together, and 3 of them became composers later on in their life. How cool! In 1723, Bach decided, I would like a change of pace in my life. So he quit his job working for Prince Leopold, and he became the director of the church choir in Leipzig. And that's where he spent the rest of his life. Bach wrote most of his choral works during his time in Leipzig, including the famous St. Matthew's Passion. So later in Bach's life, he started to go blind. He was suffering from cataracts. Get it? Cataracts? It's actually not very funny. And Bach didn't really want to be blind, so he decided to have eye surgery, but unfortunately the eye surgeon blinded him instead of fixing his eyes. And poor Bach never really recovered from that botched surgery, and he died of complications from it shortly thereafter, at the age of 65 in 1750. So even though Bach was really famous in his lifetime, and he worked for princes and dukes and all sorts of really fancy churches, most people did not actually know about his compositions during his lifetime. Good news, though. In 1829, a composer by the name of Felix Mendelssohn discovered Bach's works and decided to create an entire Bach festival devoted to performing his works. And the very first piece he performed was the St. Matthew's Passion. The performance of the St. Matthew's Passion was so successful that every year after that, Berlin hosted a Bach festival. And that's how Bach's music got pulled out of darkness into where we know it today. And Bach's legacy is just incredible. He composed 1,128 pieces during his lifetime. And between his two wives, he had 20 children. 5 of them went on to become composers themselves. We hope that you have enjoyed today's edition of Music History with Cats. Yeah, J.S. Bach. Okay, bye.